So we're back here in Destiny with Miss Trish again, and we are going to explore searching the Destiny catalog, which is our school library catalog. This is the basic search screen. You can see that here, and you have your basic ways to search in basic search right here. So you can search keyword, title, author, subject, and series. Right now we're just browsing. We're exploring topics that would be appropriate for this research project that involves World War II and the United States. So we're going to focus on keyword and subject searches today. Keyword searches are going to bring back results of your search terms in almost any place in a record for any resource that we have. So if you're looking at books, any book that has World War II in the record somewhere about that book will come up if you put World War II into the search box right here. With subject, it's a more limited search. It looks at specific parts of the record and they have a much more specific kind of vocabulary than authorized vocabulary. So it's a little bit different, and it's going to bring back fewer records. When you're doing a search, you can also choose location, material type here. Right? If you click on material type, you can look for just computer files or just books or maybe a magazine. So you have that option here. We're not going to do that today, but you might do that later on. If you look at sublocation, you can also limit it to nonfiction. That might be helpful for you. You can also limit by reading and interest levels. We're not going to worry too much about that today. So let's just try a basic search. And the first thing we notice, well, I have already been in here doing some searches. And one of the things that you notice is that there are a couple of different ways to put in World War II. If you just put in WW number 2, you may not bring anything back because it's unlikely that it's going to look for exactly what you put in. So you want to think about the different ways you might find something using different words. And I'll talk throughout the rest of this session about being very specific and keeping lists of keywords that you put in. So let's start here, and we'll just put in World War with a Roman number 2 and push keyword. And we get results really quickly here. We have 90 results. We can put them in different order by title, author, by the date of publication, right, or by call number. Right now it's clicked on call number. And here you see you have 4 pages of results. So you can go through here, but 90 is a lot, and we also know that it has to be about the United States, so some of these may or may not be about the United States, and some of them you may wonder why they're here at all, right? Well, for example, this one. Let's go back and see. So this brought us back 90 results. What if we put it in, let's put it in the other way, and also do a keyword search. And we now only have 22 results. And you may find that different resources show up depending on how you put it in. So that's something to think about as you continue your search, and take notes as you go about your process, because that can be very helpful. So let's do the same thing. Let's go with World War Roman numeral 2 and do a subject search just to compare. Okay, look at that. We put that in and it shows no results. So let's try World War II with a number 2 and do a subject search. No. Okay, so in this case, we know that something is a bit strange. Let's try World War, just World War. Let's see. Okay, now look at this. we pull back a lot more results, but we're going to also have some things that may really not be relevant for us. So you can choose whether to go through this or not, but I would recommend that you move on to the power search. In most other systems, and including EBSCOhost, which we're going to look at, Academic Search Complete, in a minute, you can see here that you'll note that they refer to that as the advanced search, but in Destiny they call it a power search. So what does that mean? It means you have more power to exert control on what the system brings back to you. For example, here you see that you have 3 different places where you can enter different terms. You can search by keyword, title, author, subject, series, or look in the note section. And you can use what we call the Boolean operators here. So Boolean operators are and, or, and not. And we're going to explore how those work here in a minute. So let's put in here, let's go with World War II. That brought us some good results. And over here we can choose all these words, any of these words, or this exact phrase. We know that World War II could be represented different ways, and we want to get the most results that we can relevant to that, so we're going to say all these words. The other search term we want to put in is United States. You'll notice Destiny remembers what you put in, so it makes it a little bit easier. So now what this is going to do is World War II, it's going to look for World War II in a keyword. It's going to look for all of those words. And it's also going to look for United States because we've told it and here. So this is going to actually give us a smaller set of results because we are requiring the system to find both World War II and the United States in the results that it brings us. And in fact, let's see, if we say all these words, it's going to bring back anything that has World War II and United, and anything that has World War II and States. So I want to change that to, let's say, this exact phrase. All right, we're going to leave all of these open. You can search by material type, by the publication year. You can even search by call number. If you know that the books you want are likely to be in the 900s, which includes history, you could put in the call numbers there, and by sublocation. But we're just going to see what it brings back for us now that we've put in those 2 terms. So look at this, we only got 4 results here. However, each of the results are likely to be useful to us. So we can see a little bit more from here. I think it might be good to go back and refine my search here. And we can do one more thing. We could put here or. So now we can say World War II or World War II. Oh, present it in both ways, and United States. What this is going to capture is either one of those, right? So as we search now, we have 20 results. So we're going to see that our results are more precise. They're more likely to be relevant to what we actually want to see. However, we may be missing a resource or 2. So the advantage to doing a broader search is that you're more likely to get every single resource. But if you do a more precise source using the Boolean operators, we will get a more precise list that's likely to include fewer irrelevant resources. So one other important of these, right, you can look here and go through the results here. I think one thing that I'd like to show you now is how this differs if you put in the subject. So here we'll do this the same way, World War II. World War II. or World War II and the United States. Okay, so we'll get all of those back in there, but we're going to switch this to subject. It takes a minute to reset its brain here, and then we can search. All right, so now we see, okay, that's really not bringing back what we wanted. It's a more limited search. We're not getting what we need. So in this case, it would be better to stick with the keywords as opposed to the subject. The subject, again, is going to be a bit different. If we go back to, I want to explain this just a little bit. I want to go back to the subject. We're going to put in World War II, and now we're going to click on subject. Oh my goodness. Let's see. This is actually really good for you to see, because one of the things that you can do is see kind of like when you go to a dead end, you can't just give up. So let's click here on refine our search. Let's go back and search by keyword, see if we can find out what's happening here. So how about this one? Let's look at Rosie the Riveter. We're going to click on this, and when you do this, you can actually see more of what is in the record. And here it's going to give you the publication information, additional information. What we'd really like to see, though, is the subjects that are listed for this. Let's click on Cite Subjects. No. Okay. So let's try a different book. And that's a play. We probably don't want that. Let's look at cause and effect. When we do this, we start to see where we start to see some of the subject information up here, and we see where our search term has shown up. And one of the things that you can notice is here it says World War 1939 to 1945. That could be the problem, because when you're doing a subject search, you have to have the exact wording. And if you don't get it right, then it's not going to recognize the results. So when we change to World War II, 1939 to 1945, that's exactly the way it has to get entered in the subject fields. So here you can see, okay, now we've got some really relevant research. So again, what I would say to you is to look very carefully at those subject terms. One other thing I want to show you here before we go, we're almost done, that is the help. How do I? When you do that, this is bringing up how to work in basic search, and it tells you even more information about wildcards. For example, you can use an asterisk if you want to find out about teaching, but you think, okay, maybe I'm not getting the results I want. You can put teach asterisk. It only works at the end, and then it will bring back teach, teachers, teacher, teaching, anything that starts with the word teach. That's an example of a wildcard. You can also use a question mark anywhere in your search term if you aren't sure how to spell it. And it will tell you other things like you don't need to worry about capitalization and you don't need to worry about punctuation. It can remind you about Boolean operators. So anytime that you run into a jam, if you can't get some help on your own, you can't figure it out, you might try using the help feature, because that might help you figure out what you need to do. All right, so that's it for Destiny, and now we're going to move on and look at Academic Search Complete.